let's start with the cabinet pick so far. There's a short list that's emerging.
Yes.
Try and make some sense of it. We're looking at a motley group of people here. You have former classmates
Yes.
of Duterte. You have Davaoenos, of course, that's expected. Some administration officials from FVR's admin and
Yes.
BGMA's admin.
Yes.
It's hard to put your finger on exactly
Yes.
if there's any kind of theme to this cabinet that's forming. But if you could do that, what would it be?
Well, the cabinet is usually the alter ego of the president, and any incoming president usually the very first unofficial act, and it sets the tone for his administration, would be the selection for the cabinet.
And what's the tone so far?
And so far, we can see that he has picked, at least for the first batch, these are his inner group, no? The core group of his campaign. And these are basically his most trusted allies, no? That he has named, no? And most of which are allies from way back, no? From his Davao years.
But he's been mayor for 22 years,
Yes,
and
yes.
he's been a mayor in different administrations.
Yes.
But what does it say about him and his style of leadership? Like, this is a man who wants to work with only people he trusts, people he knows personally,
Yes.
people he's handpicked personally.
Well, offhand, one would say that where's the change, right?
These are old faces,
These are
most of
old
them.
faces, and
Both literally and figuratively old faces.
And people were expecting that there will be some major changes, that there will be younger and more technocratic. But I think that will follow. No, a search committee has been formed, and it is the task of the search committee. But these are the more crucial cabinet portfolios that I think that needs to get his incoming administration running. No, so I think he placed, or he appointed, he named his most trusted ally, so that he can immediately hit the ground running.
And here's a unique opportunity for Mayor Duterte, because unlike the other candidates who had huge parties behind them, business groups, big power brokers, tycoons even, who are supporting their candidacies, here's a man basically who ran with an organic movement.
Yes.
This gives him more leeway, more freedom to choose people without being dictated upon.
Right. So you're correct that this is part of movement politics. No? This is not part of party politics. So even the selection of his cabinet would now would have a broader base. So I think, aside from this initial announcement, aside from this core group, I think he will look for more diverse selection. No?
Right. Speaking of diverse, Professor, he's called himself openly the first leftist president of the Philippine Republic, which is true.
Right.
Basically, it's true if you go back to history.
Right.
How do you think that's going to play out in his cabinet choices? He's already mentioned he's reserved for portfolios if the CPP and NDF and PA actually get into peace talks with the government. Do you think we're going to see a left-leaning cabinet here, considering that the names that have emerged so far are far from left? They're centrist, right off center.
Yes, I think this is part of his campaign promise to form a unity government, and I think also this is part of the confidence-building measures with the communist left. No? And this is really out of the box. This is unprecedented. I mean, there has never been a government or administration in our country's history that has actually offered for the communists to join, no, in a coalition. And for the side of the communists, no, this is exactly part of their tactical goal, no, to form a democratic coalition government, a united front government.
It also puts the NDF CPP on the defensive. I mean, this is an offer, a peace offering from the president. I mean, to actually not get into peace talks would have negative propaganda effects on them.
But I think the question here is, will the appointment come before or after the negotiation resumes? No? So I think we have to wait for further details. But the irony here is that in the economic front, he's trying to calm down business by continuing with the neoliberal economic
we had
policies.
The 8-point program that was submitted, and it looks like in many ways, a regurgitated program of action of previous administrations, not just Pinoy's administration.
And yet he reserves 4 cabinet positions for the communists.
So how do you make sense of that? Because if indeed the peace talks do take place and those 4 positions are offered to the left, you're talking about, let's take for example, labor.
Right.
That's going to be a huge impact on business, of course, the business environment. Second, the ENR, mining, for example. I mean, implications on the exploitation of resources. These are like the hot-button issues that investors are looking at. And what kind of signal does it send? It's pretty much mixed signals for you.
Because if we look at previous administrations, always a new president would look into economic reforms, the economic fundamentals. And yet, they always run out of time to take care of the more important aspects, which include social and political reform. And by putting these 4 social service-oriented portfolios at front and center and offering them to the people who actually rebelled against the state because of injustices committed against farmers and the workers and the lack of basic social services, that is a stroke of genius, I think.
This is what you call the real inclusive growth then?
Yes, yes. So now you have social inclusive coalition being formed by the Duterte administration, the incoming Duterte administration.
Which will require, of course, a very delicate balancing act to get those different personalities to agree on an agenda for the country.
Yes. So you balance the economic, the business aspect of continuing the growth trajectory of the country, but at the same time, by putting the left in charge of the social services.
This would be similar to like the Brazilian model, for example, under the Silva.
So you will actually put social inclusion front and center.
All right. Speaking of the leftist leanings of the president, again, this is not our category. This is his own self-confessed description of himself, the first leftist president. This will have implications, of course, on U.S. and Philippine relations. I mean, his spokesperson has said expect more lukewarm relations with the U.S. You go through past speeches of Mayor Duterte, and his reading of Philippine history is a very nationalist one.
Yes.
He's been critical of the U.S. role, imperialism in the Philippines. His professors probably have a lot to do with that in his formative years. What do we see there in terms of the relationship with the U.S.?
Well, I think what we're seeing here is that the Duterte administration is taking a more nuanced approach to our relationship with the United States. No? So we are not putting all our eggs in the U.S. basket, so to speak. No? And we're trying to rebalance. No? We're trying to hedge our geopolitical position vis-a-vis the United States. And at the same time, we're trying to repair our damaged relations with China without necessarily surrendering our sovereignty. So it's a difficult balancing act on the part of the Duterte administration. That is the reason why whoever is appointed the Secretary of Foreign Affairs is crucial for this kind of geopolitical strategy